Let's go south. Now, we don't have a line on the Arizona game because it's going to be a 16-on-16 game with Wright State taking on Bryant. And by the way, if you care, in that game, Wright State is a 2-point favorite. Winner will get Arizona. But we have the rest of the bracket, and let's get our guys in to find out what's what as we start looking at the South. I'm Eric Casillas, and out in Vegas, there's Todd Furman. And here with me, we have Matt Norlander, we have Timmy Doyle, and let's start with Seton Hall and TCU. I see the hammers out, so I'm going to go here first. Seton Hall's a 1-point favorite in this 8-9 matchup. Your total's 130. Where do you want to go?
I love TCU here. They have completely changed, like Rocky when he grabbed the mic in Rocky IV and told Russia that if he could change, that they could change. I had TCU in November. They got whacked by Santa Clara, and I left the gym and I went, oh, that's not a tournament team. Jamie Dixon turned this squad around. They defend at the highest level, and I think the ultimate respect to Jamie Dixon is ever since he's left Pitt. Look at that program. Remember when they used to be good, like go to Sweet 16s every year? He's gone down to TCU. They've adopted a philosophy, beat Kansas, took Kansas down to the wire. They can compete with anybody. Seton Hall has not seen defense like this. Horned Frogs, how do you do it?
I still want to know how come the Russian peasants got the best seats a title fight at Rocky IV, like sitting around. That's what I've always wondered watching that thing. Anyway, what do you think, Matt Norlander? Seton Hall, TCU, basically a coin flip game. Seton Hall
right.
A point, 130 total.
Both these teams are pretty close analytically overall. A couple of big teams as well. Seton Hall ranks amongst the tallest teams in all of men's college basketball. But guess what? TCU, top 5 in offensive rebounding. I like TCU in this spot.
Yes.
Mike Miles is a player that you're going to want to know. Oh, by the way, this is the final tip of Friday night, and our buddy Avery Johnson is going to be on the call on True TV, but this is the last game that will tip in the first round, so sometimes that late Friday window can give us a little bit of craziness. I think there's a good chance here. I love a good 8, 9, 7, 10 in that final tip window. We have that here. Give me TCU.
All right, where's the value here? Let's go out to Vegas and get Todd's thoughts on this one.
Well, I mean, the guys made a compelling case for TCU. There's no doubt about it. When you look at the transformation, this team has shown it can go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the country. The big concern I have with TCU, especially in a neutral court setting, is their ability or lack thereof to hold on to the basketball. I mean, this is one of the most turnover-prone teams in the entire field, and they try and atone for that by getting to the offensive glass, where they have one of the best offensive rebounding rates in the country. But at the same time, we know the key to winning games in March as the stakes get ratcheted up is being fundamentally sound in the backcourt. I'm not as bullish on TCU as the guys. That would be my lean. I actually like this game under the total a bit. I think both these teams will be able to lock down defensively, and it has all the makings of a good old-fashioned slugfest. Not exactly the most exciting way to ring in the final game of the night, but at the same time, I think 60 points could be the threshold it takes to get a victory. I'm going under the total in the low 130s.
All right, traditionally we hear 5-12 and everybody's ears perks up, right? That's the upset line, the 5-12 line. This is one where you look at and you go, okay, Houston, UAB, and the line's 7.5, opened at 8.5, already dropped a point to 7.5, total's 136.5. You want to make a case for UAB and maybe even to win outright here? What do you say?
I would not lay 7.5 points with the Houston team that when you're able to slow them down, yikes.
And I'll point out, you loved Houston last year, so it's not like you're anti-Houston. You picked them to go to the Final Four, and they delivered for you. This year, you're going the other way.
They just flat out do not have the same offensive firepower. And if you watch Conference USA over the past couple of years, how has North Texas done when they've gotten the tournament? Oh, that's right. Last year, they beat Purdue. Like, the points in this game is crazy. They may not win this game, but Andy Kennedy has resurrected his alma mater. I think they have outstanding scoring punch. They could shoot the 3. I know they don't have the same athleticism from a defensive standpoint that Houston boasts, but way too many points. I'm going to take the dog here, Matt.
This game's going to go down in Pittsburgh. It's also a Friday night 9:20 tip, and I'm going to take Houston. I think this is going to be a popular 12/5 pick. Here's the deal. Houston has missed 2 of its top 4 scorers most of the season. Kelvin Sampson's done a wonderful job, and it hasn't had a lot on the resume, which is why it's got a gaudy record but didn't get a good seed. I think because UAB is coming in relatively hot, it's got a wonderful player named Jelly Walker that you're going to want to watch. He's a fantastic talent, and he can keep UAB in this game. I actually think this will be a popular money line pick, but I do like Houston in this spot, and I like him big. Made the Final Four a season ago. Kelvin Sampson's a very, very good coach. I would think that Houston's going to take this one. Good push from UAB.
So you'll lay the 7.5.
I would lay it, yes.
All right, so we got sort of one on each. You want to break the tie here, or are you going to go off that total of 136.5, Todd?
No, I'm going to look to break the tie here, and I'm going to put myself squarely on the same side as Tim Doyle with the underdog here. Matt talked about the key scorer in this game, Jelly Walker for UAB. We know he's capable of going off at a moment's notice. We saw that on full display in the Conference USA Tournament. But when I look at Houston this season, there's no doubt to the guys' points. Kelvin Sampson has been able to mold this team and adapt and adjust to some of the wrinkles that have been thrown their way. But I worry a ton about how battle-tested they really are. You look through the resume that Houston's compiled over the course of the season when they stepped up in class athletically until their dominant performance against Memphis. It left a little bit to be desired. I think the American Athletic from top to bottom really, was a struggle. Houston wasn't battle-tested on a night-in, night-out basis. And while, look, I'm not going to call Conference USA a murderer's row by any stretch of the imagination, I think UAB can win in the half court. They can win if it gets a little free and loose here. I think the Blazers are live underdogs here. Not willing to back them on the money line as I made this game 5.5, but I am more than happy to take the points.
All right, next up, let's go 4-13 in Illinois against Chattanooga, and I'll pinball back to you, Todd Furman. 136.5 is the total. When you look at this game, Illinois is an 8-point favorite. They're the 4 seed. Look, I'm not watching a lot of Chattanooga hoops. I got to be honest. That's why I have you guys here. What do you want to do with Illinois against, are they the moccasins?
They're the mocks.
I love the moccasins, which is basically not footwear, but a snake, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yes, that's the kind of analysis I wanted from Matt Norlander. What do you want to do here? What do you say, Todd Furman?
So many different ways to go with that, EK, but I'll attack things on the basketball court, and I will make a case for UT Chattanooga catching way too many points, in my opinion. Illinois, for me, has been one of the more difficult teams to figure out in the Big Ten because you look at their overall potential and you expect this team to be significantly better than what they have been. The problem being is the numbers with Andre Corbello on the court haven't been good by any stretch of the imagination. The more he plays, the worse the Illini perform. And when I look at Chattanooga, again, it's a common thread with a lot of these mid-majors. If you have an elite-level playmaker out there, it's going to give you more than a puncher's chance. I think Malachi Smith is that guy. And I think the Mocs have all the makeup to be a team not only to cover in a number that I think is a touch inflated, but to win this game outright. Common trend for me, gentlemen, I think the Big Ten, despite getting 9 teams in the field, there are a lot of these teams that are overseeded, and I'm going to look to go against a bunch of them in the first round.
He says take the 7. You say what, Matt?
I'm going to take Illinois to win this and cover. Trent Frazier is one of the best defenders in all of men's college basketball. He's going to be all over Malachi Smith. Trent Frazier is going to come up huge. This will be an interesting battle of the guards because Andre Corbello is also a really talented player for Illinois. I don't know if Chattanooga has an answer for Kofi Coburn, although, fun fact, former Kansas player Silvio De Sosa, he plays for Chattanooga. He's got some size to him, maybe, but Coburn's he's a load. Chattanooga won't be able to handle it.
Yeah, I hate this game. I hate this game. I hate this game. If you say that 3 times to Mustafa and Austin Powers, he has to answer the question. I would take the dog here just because it's a lot of points. Chattanooga made a game-winning shot. There's an emotion there. Malachi Smith's a next-level player. Illinois can't be trusted at this number.
All right, next up, how about Michigan as the 11 seed favored over the 6 seed Colorado State? Look, I went to University of Michigan Law School. I didn't even think they belonged in the field. Now it's already down to 1, so you can see that line is dropped. Michigan is still favored as the 11 over the 6. 141's the total. Okay, Dancing Hammer, go ahead.
Yeah, come on. I mean, I know Juwan Howard, when he stepped aside, Peter Boyle from Young Frankenstein was the head coach. I'm sorry, it was actually Phil Martelli. And he did an okay job going 3-2. But the emotional roller coaster of that guy's our coach, then that guy's our coach, then we're up, we're beating Indiana, we're laughing at halftime, we lose to Indiana. Oh, we're not getting into now we're getting into the tournament. Like, too much of a roller coaster here. And if you have not seen Colorado State, David Roddy was the Mountain West Player of the Year. But it's not that. It's how he plays. He's built like Rob Gronkowski, but he can dribble, he can pass, he makes other guys better on the floor. You are paying an absolute premium to bet Michigan because it's a brand name. Colorado State should be favorite in this game.
So take them on the money line.
The more you bet, the more you win.
Colorado State on the money line. You said what?
Tim's right on it. Todd can speak to this more than I can. It would not surprise me at all if Colorado State is favored by tip. You said Michigan's -1 right now, right?
They started 2.5, or they're down to 1 already.
I think Colorado State will be favored with this game. By the way, this is what you're starting your Thursday off with on the NCAA tournament. This is the first tip of the first round on Thursday on CBS. I love this. This is a wonderful matchup here. He mentioned Roddy. I'll be quick on this. Isaiah Stevens is the other player at Colorado State. Fantastic, fabulous point guard. Love CSU in this spot. Michigan's lost too many games for me this year.
All right, so they say bet it now because it's not going to be around later. Take the point or take the money line. What say you, Todd?
Single toughest game of the first round for me to try and handicap because while the boys make a compelling case for backing Colorado State, and despite Michigan only compiling a 17-14 record, this team from a power profile standpoint is inside my top 30, and that's despite the head coaching disadvantage that they may be at in this spot with Juwan Howard matched up against Nico Medved. The reality of this Michigan team is you look at their top line talent. Hunter Dickinson and Eli Brooks are as good, obviously, as any players that Colorado State has had to encounter in the course of Mountain West play. But to your point, you do wonder where Michigan is at from an emotional standpoint. That an inexplicable meltdown against Indiana, you do wonder if it has a lingering effect. If Michigan was smart, they let Phil Martelli coach the X's and O's and they'll be just fine. But I actually made this game right where the number is. So while it's not popular to do, EK, I'm abstaining. I have no clue who wins and covers this basketball.
I'll make this baseball. Like when you hit a lazy pop-up and foul ground and you think you're out and then the first baseman drops it, you seem to always get a hit after that, right? You got new life. Michigan's got to feel like new life. After what we did against Indiana, they still put us in new life. I'd be very scared.
Michigan fan.
I didn't think they belonged in, and I said it. I didn't think they belonged in. But now that they're in, they may take advantage. Tennessee 17 over Longwood. It's already dropped now down to 14.5, 133.5 total. What do you want to do, Todd Furman?
Yeah, this for me a principal play, gentlemen, and I'm going to back the Lancers in the first half, taking the points when that number and market ultimately open. Tennessee had to go through the rigors. You saw that emotion, that raw display in winning the SEC championship in a dominant fashion against Texas A&M. But we've seen it time and time again for the Vols in March. Rick Barnes and his teams laying this kind of number, not exactly a recipe for success. I think Longwood has enough scoring to give Tennessee a scare, at least for the first 20 minutes, especially if the Vols are sleepwalking early on. It's been one of my tried and true recipes. Teams that win Power 5 conferences that aren't familiar with that level of success, struggling in the first half of their tournament game, I'll take the Lancers plus the points when that market opens up.
You've been Joe Rocky Top here. You picked them to win the SEC tournament. They did. You like them here?
I like under here. What they're doing defensively right now, they're so locked in. They have an identity. If you looked at what they did to Kentucky, barely break 60 points, 30% from the field. That was a theme in the SEC tournament. They're going to win, but I wouldn't lay all these points.
All right, next up. You want to talk about saying I guarantee it? When the bracket came out, Matt Norlander said, I guarantee it. Loyola's going to be favored over Ohio State even though they're 10, and it's going to be 1.5 or maybe 2. What did it open at? 1.5. Perfect. Knocking it stiff. Now it's 1. Loyola Chicago, 1-point favorite over Ohio State. Total in this one, you're looking at it 134. You want to do what, oh guru, on this?
I'm going to leave that total to Mr. Furman. He knows what he's talking about there. Quick background on this game real quick. Chris Holtmann has lived with the disappointing loss last year as a 2 seed getting knocked out by 15 seed Oral Roberts, and now this is what the committee gives Ohio State. This is a brutal matchup. Loyola Chicago tormented a Big Ten team last year. Remember Illinois in the second round. Now it gets Ohio State, which has been fading. Ohio State does have a future first-round draft pick, Malachi Branham, and it's got a top 10 player in the sport, E.J. Liddell. Loyola Chicago doesn't have high-level wins this season. Lucas Williamson, fantastic defender. It's going to be a wonderful game. I'm going to have to go with Loyola Chicago to win this one. But to me, Todd said this about that Michigan-Colorado State game. I kind of land with that here. Ohio State's not fully healthy. I can see this going either way, but I got to go with the team that the metrics say is better, and that's Loyola Chicago.
Sister Jean!
You bet against Loyola, you bet against God, all right? Last 10 years in the Missouri Valley Conference, 12-1 in first-round games. Who's representing the Valley? I'm taking them in this game. Loyola does not shoot themselves in the foot. Sister Jean, she's 102 years old, and one day I touched her cloak, and as I touched it, I go, please live to 90, please live to 90. And I'm still here. I'm betting the Ramblers.
So you're saying not just 12-1 their last 12-1 their last 13 first-round games.
The Valley.
I didn't know. Nobody knows that.
How about that?
Who's better than that?
What more do you need?
Amazing. Very well done by the MVC. All right. There you go. Loyola, Chicago, Ohio State. Todd Furman. We got 2 votes for Loyola. You got a total there at 134.
Come on, Todd.
What do you want to do? Coming in, the water's warm. You're going to go the other way with Ohio State. You're going to attack the total.
You know, first things first, kudos to all of our production staff at CBS for creating a big enough desk because EK and Matt, you guys are normally in harm's way. When Tim starts flailing around with that hammer, nobody is safe anywhere around. But more importantly, Tim, we know what's in that bag. All it is ripped up newspaper. There's no way it's dollar bills. You never would have gotten through TSA unless you were driving out from Chicago. But I am on the same side as you boys here with Loyola Chicago for the reasons that they both highlighted. Talking about an Ohio State team trending the wrong direction. To Matt's point, I hate the fact that Ohio State had to live with the disappointment of what transpired last year in the month of March. But I don't like this Buckeyes team right now. And if Loyola can force Ohio State to beat them from the perimeter and at least double E.J. Liddell every time he touches the ball in the post, I think Loyola has a massive advantage. I'm rolling with the Ramblers here, gentlemen. I'd bet them on the money line rather than laying the 1.5.
All right, there you go. Loyola favored, even though they're the 10 against the 7. Once you get to anywhere between 6 and 11, those teams always, you can see from the
The line is telling you who to bet.
All right, fair enough. The line's telling you in this one that Villanova's a big favorite, right? I mean, Delaware. There you go. Joe Flacco.
Hi, I'm from Delaware.
Yeah.
It's Wayne's World. Hi, we're from Delaware.
The Blue Hens getting a whole heap of points, 16. Totals 133.5. Todd Furman, you're first.
Yeah, this is a numbers play more than anything else. I made this game 13, so I lean towards Delaware. I don't love the X's and O's here, but I wonder about Villanova, again, being a little bit flat. They had to expend a lot more energy than I'm sure the Wildcats would have liked in dispatching UConn by 3 points in the Big East semifinals and then outlasting Creighton in an ugly, ugly basketball game, Madison Square Garden. This will be the embodiment, in my opinion, of survive and advance. The one thing I like about the Blue Hens is that they have 4 double-digit scorers on their roster, and I know I'm really old when it's Jameer Nelson Jr. who sets the pace for this team.
I'm going with Nova in the second half because they make free throws, and when they start getting fouled, the clock keeps going and going and going, and all they do is keep making twos, and you come down, you're heaving threes, you're missing, and it goes. Give me whatever the halftime is. I'll take Nova in the second half. You say what?
Villanova's going to win. I think they'll win easily. Delaware was the 5 seed out of the CAA. That's the 5 seed had never gone from the CAA tournament to the NCAA tournament. Jameer Nelson Jr., very fun player. Colin Gillespie has a claim to be the best, at least the most steadiest, valuable point guard in the sport. Villanova had a rocky night in winning the Big East tournament against Creighton. I think it comes out, it plays well here, and it covers that number.
You know, these guys know each other. They're recruited. They're on the same AAU circuit. They're not going to be intimidated, the guys from Delaware. I just think this is too many points. I think Villanova wins, but I'm going to take the dog.
All right, there you go. That is your South region.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.